Hey, Nick, we need a tagline for the podcast.
No.
Real life opinions. Movie reviews told by fans and not critics.
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
Well, Corey, another week.
Another week. Pretty excited. It's October. Scary movie month starts.
Laura is down with the flu. She really wanted to do this movie. Eh?
Yeah, I felt terrible. I'm like, I almost contemplated rescheduling it, but generally with that, she's going to be a couple days. So
we'd already pushed off this movie once too. We were going to do it back in, was it August we were going to do this movie?
Yeah, when it was first requested.
Yeah. And Laura couldn't do it, so we moved it, and then we were going to do it again, and then one of the boys suggested do it in October, right?
Yeah, it was Andrew, So.
Yeah.
But here we are in Santa Carla, the murder capital of the world.
You know, for the murder capital of the world, they sure have a sweet boardwalk.
Yeah, right? I'm assuming, because I think Santa Carla is fictional. But I'm pretty sure it's like Santa Monica ripoff. So
yeah, clearly like a West Coast, Northern California, ripoff,
surfer vibe with, because it's Santa Monica that has that little like attraction and everything on the pier, isn't it? I can't remember. I'm not Californian.
I know there's like the one on Jersey Shore, the other end. Yeah. But I can't recall on the West Coast.
That's where God got taken out by the guys with the hockey sticks.
Oh, yeah! Was that Jersey Shore?
Yeah. Of course it was. It was Kevin Smith. John Doe Jersey, remember?
I remember they were, John Doe Jersey. I remember they were all wearing New Jersey Devil jerseys.
Yeah.
Jersey Shore with New Jersey Devils and Jersey.
That's a lot of jerseys.
There's a lot of jerseys. Anyway, can we talk about how dreamy Keith Sullivan in this movie is? Like,
yeah, I mean he's got such like boyishly good looks. I think like it's funny when you see him at the end of the movie without the stubble, you realize just how young he was. Like he was only 19 for this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy how young he is. Yet, like, great performance, really.
Oh, he was amazing. Well, I'm not a Jamie Gertz fan. I think she's an absolutely atrocious actress, but she was really attractive back then. Like she wasn't bad in Twister, but
that's all she's here for.
She's not good.
She doesn't really like. She's got a couple scenes where she could make something happen, and then it just doesn't.
And then her lack of acting chops just destroys the scene. But like, I mean, David's gang, there's a great story with David's gang because one was a model, one was, I can't remember something else, but one of them died not that long after this movie.
Really?
I can't remember what happened. Like, I only have like bits of memories from this. I should have probably researched it more again. But
not Bill didn't. Esquire, though.
Obviously. No, he's still around, obviously. Bill and Ted 3. But no, he was actually, after Bill and Ted, before the third one, he went into directing. He was directing indie flicks all the time. So he stepped away from being in front of the camera and went behind it.
Anything I know?
I don't recognize a single name.
No,
and I can't even think of a name now to save my life. But no, he's definitely more attuned to the behind the scenes. And he just did Bill and Ted because, as everyone who's seen that movie, it wasn't a good movie. It was just a fan service.
You know, it wasn't.
It wasn't. I own it, so it was not terrible. But
it wasn't terrible.
But it really was just a fan service.
Oh yeah, which is okay every now and again. Yeah, I can live with a little bit of fan service every now and again.
Certain movies, they're great to have. Like, I mean, I guess that's kind of what you could argue about Ghostbusters Afterlife, but at the same time, they actually built a really, really solid story behind it. So
yeah. Ghostbusters Afterlife is arguably the best story in the whole series.
Well, and that's because Harold and Dan had that story in their head before part 2 even came out.
Like the Afterlife story?
Well,
not the Afterlife story. They always, Dan Aykroyd's always told about how he wanted to pass down to a younger generation, and I did hear them talking about hell.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I was slightly mistaken. The video game that came out in what 2009, I think it was the unwritten story. So, which was really well done, that video game. Plus, it got all the voice actors back. So,
So with Lost Boys here, uh, you know, it was a little bit jarring for me. I know I had seen this movie before, but I don't think I ever watched it beginning to end, and I've watched it a couple times now in preparation. It's a bit of a tale of two movies, isn't it? Do you find that at all?
well, it's an 80s movie and it's a horror movie.
Well, it's an 80s, like, it's Gremlins and The Craft kind of like amalgamated together. Like before that brooding 90s kind of goth movement happened, there was this. And there's definitely the fingerprints and the DNA of like the old Gremlins or like.
Well, Corey Haim was so painfully 80s in this movie. He wore tie-dye, he wore Hawaiian shirts. He had a poster of Rob Lowe wearing a crop top on his wall. His sexuality is most definitely right to be questioned. But nothing against. He was great in this movie. As he always is. I mean, Corey Haim was a great actor. So he just kind of got himself into trouble, and that's unfortunate. So
Yeah, well, you listen to the two Corys? Have you watched any of
I
that?
never did. I kind of wanted to, but kind of didn't because I was happy with my ignorance is bliss logic on it.
Feldman's pretty vocal now.
Yeah.
About like everything that went down. And at the time, everything's moving pretty fast, and it's hard to realize what's happening around you sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's a real shame about him.
The 80s was funny because there was a lot of shit that happened in the 80s that was really dark and twisted. But then, in my opinion, that's why they created the fantastical bright colored movies and the fantastical electronic music to hide from all the crap that was going on. I mean, like, the Cold War was basically happening at this point when this movie came out, and everything with Gorbachev, everything with Reagan, like, there was so much dark stuff happening in the 80s, but hey, look, fancy pictures and fancy colors and fancy music.
Well, one could argue that of our time right now.
It has turned into that now. Like, it didn't, we had a spell where everything was flat out on the table, but no, I think they're trying to start to mask because the world is really going to hell.
Yeah, the past few years have been rough.
Yeah.
The past few years have definitely been rough. We are primed for a 80s type financial crash again.
I mean, I remember 2008.
Yeah. See, I was unaffected by 2008 for the most part, but I wasn't working for a American conglomerate video rental company, so I could understand your pain from 2008.
Yeah. On a positive note, we bought our house right before the market crashed, so we ended up getting a really good deal on our house. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
for younger people, sorry for your luck not being able to buy a home.
Luckily, if you can buy a doorway to sleep under.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I freaking love the acting in this. Like, again, except for Jamie Gertz, but everybody was so good. The 80s, like David's gang, for being side characters, still shined, in my opinion. Jason Patrick did a really good job, and he's a bit of an overactor, and he still is to this day if you watch his stuff. But
it really works in this movie.
It works, yeah. And then even the little kid, like the laddie kid, he did a good job too. So
very limited his role.
Very, very limited. Like you can probably count on one or two hands the amount of minutes he had in this movie. So
I noticed the directing in this movie is what I noticed.
Donner's amazing.
Well, this was a Donner production. It was a Joel Schumacher directing.
Too mixed up, yeah.
Yeah, they did, because like I said, it's a bit of a tale of two movies, but it wasn't jarring. Like it was a little jarring, but like the dark and brooding stuff is very well done.
Mm-hmm. Like
This
the
was
scene at the campfire is so good.
no, like sends chills that campfire scene,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And honestly, for 1987, the makeup was absolutely stunning.
For me, the scene is the train scene when they're underneath on
Yeah.
the bridge. That scene to me is just like I feel like it's ahead of its time for the 80s, right?
Well, and if you were in any way afraid of heights, this scene would make your stomach get
Oh,
butterflies.
yeah.
I know I don't have the urge to hang off a train trestle, so
Yeah, not something I've ever wanted to do either.
yeah.
My wife walked in right at that scene while I was watching it. She's like, "Why would they do that?" Because they're vampires.
To show that they can fly.
Yeah. Yeah. They do play that one song too much, though.
Well,
It's a good song,
the
but like
the love scene, it got a little worn in the tooth. Like in my
Yeah.
opinion, that's the only scene in this movie I feel could have been cut.
Yeah, you know, that was
At least
that
half of it. Like whatever if you want to keep some sort of love scene, but it dragged on.
is this an R rating because of that?
Yes. Well, because of that? No. Probably because of the campfire scene. However,
Well,
that didn't help. Like there's no nudity or anything, but it was
it was
passionate.
it was a flash of nudity.
Was there? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
wasn't.
remember.
It was like a montage of nudity.
Oh.
It wasn't like there was. You couldn't see anything. Nothing like that. No full frontal or anything like that. Yeah. Maybe a little bit unnecessary. I don't know. I guess it nails home the point that she was, just wanted to bone him.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
take a number.
That was like what took the whole movie in right off the bat, right? She's. Well, I guess she's supposed to bite him, wasn't she?
Well, that was the original point. Is he was supposed to be her first.
Yeah. The rules for the vampires don't make any sense in this one. Like, if you invite me into your home, their powers don't work.
That's a thing.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Is it a thing because of this movie, or is that just like always been a thing?
No, that's a thing.
Because okay, I get it that like the holy water and the garlic didn't work, even though they said the garlic doesn't work anyway. But like, how was he unable? Like, why was he still able to see his reflection?
Yeah, I think it just nailed out everything. No, the
So, like, if
the
you
invite in thing is a huge. Like, did you ever watch Salem's Lot?
Oh, I think a year
Anyway,
ago.
it was the same principle. The kid was floating around the window and kept asking to get invited in, otherwise he couldn't go in. And
Was he a vampire?
yeah,
Okay. I see. I thought that was like a thing for demons,
no,
not
it was a
vampires.
vampire movie.
I'm gonna have to get all my vampire demon
I
stuff sorted out
this
here.
used to be my only genre, or not my subgenre is what it is. Vampire horror used to be the only thing I would watch is vampire movies. So I've seen Swedish ones, I've seen new ones, I've seen old ones, I've seen there's the Christopher Lee ones, there's the Bela Lugosi ones, there's so
What's the oldest you've ever watched for vampire movies?
the original Dracula, Bela Lugosi, 1931.
1931.
It was black and white.
Yeah. So. Was it pretty good?
It's dated, but it's still a good story. So
1930 movies are hard to watch now, aren't they?
I don't know if you've ever tried to watch Nosferatu before.
Nosferatu was the one I was thinking of my head. I was gonna wonder if you'd ever seen that.
I've seen that, but it's a hard watch because it's a silent movie. First of all,
is it a silent movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's
is that a vampire movie?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was. I wasn't too sure though.
Well, Nosferatu translates to vampire in, I think, German. So
was Dracula a silent movie?
No.
So I was Nosferatu a silent movie, but not Dracula. If it came out before it.
Well, Nosferatu might have come up before. Now that I think about it, so. But yeah, there was behind the scenes in that movie. Max Schreck, who was the actor who played Nosferatu, he stayed in character the entire time to the point where his cast members actually believed he might have been a vampire.
That's crazy. Oh, that's not so. Max Shrek, is that like a was that a nod in Batman Returns?
No, could have been. Yeah,
Hmm. Tim Burton seems like the kind of guy that would have that kind of nod, right?
totally. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Swedish movie called Let the Right One In, absolutely outstanding. They made an American remake called Let Me In, which was essentially a scene by scene remake, but yet it just didn't have the flair that the original had.
Mm-hmm.
And by flair, I mean it was a super dark movie, but it felt right watching the Swedish version than it did watching the American version. So,
Interesting. Was it subbed or dubbed?
you could do either.
Hmm.
Because when I rented it, and yeah, I think I picked dubbed, but I regretted it afterwards because dubbed's hard to watch sometimes.
The dog rules also don't make any sense to me. Why are some dogs triggered by vampires and other dogs triggered by non-vampires?
Well,
Like,
he's
do you think
kind
though?
of one at that point, so
Well, yeah, but like, uh, what's his pickles dog? Like, attack the mother.
yeah, because he was asleep and he was protecting her, or he was
Oh,
protecting him. So, like they talk about the hounds of
that.
hell in the comics there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That makes sense now. I actually never put that
yeah,
correlation together. I'm
because
just
during the
like,
day, vampire, he was asleep. So,
why is this dog attacking her?
but yet when he's with Max, he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, when he's with Max, also at night. So
I just realized now that we never see him during the day, do we? I don't know why I didn't realize that earlier.
I don't know how he successfully runs a video store business with only coming out at night. But I mean, it's good to have staff. But I mean, from a corporate point of view, you need to be available during the day.
Can you come to a Teams meeting at 7:30
Yeah.
at night? Actually, if
Just send me the questions and I'll pre-record them.
but was like Michael not invited in his own house? Is that why he's disappearing in the mirror?
You know what? That's actually a good one because obviously he was invited there because
Yeah, his grandpa invited
so
him to
he
the home.
should have had his reflection the whole time, and he should have had
Like
nothing.
I guess at the end they established that you have to invite him in every time.
Yeah, well, he was,
So
and
maybe
again,
he
he
was
was only
invited
a
in
half
once.
vampire, whereas Max was spoiler the head vampire.
Oh yeah, spoilers for a 35-year-old movie.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
there might be someone watching that's like, "Hey, I've never seen this movie. I wonder
no!
what they have to think about it." Son of a bitch!
If I was listening to this podcast, I'd be like, "No!" At least if this was a week ago.
Yeah, but the difference is that even when the reveal happens at the end of the movie, it still doesn't change how good the movie is.
Well, like you see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, you really do. So, in the sequel comic that followed up, the two passed out hippies in the comic shop were supposed to be their parents.
But that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
actually,
and they're the ones who actually run the comic shop, but they're just passed out hippies.
So so the Frog Brothers' parents run the head vampire's comic shop.
No, the comic shop was its own entity. The movie store was its own entity.
Okay. Oh yeah, not.
But yeah, I really like. I enjoyed how everything in this movie was practical or makeup. Like there was zero CGI in this movie.
There wasn't a single effect in this movie where I was just like, "Yeah, that's not good,"
No,
or "That's dated." There wasn't, which is really good. I've talked about special effects before in our movies, like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Had that really cheesy scene. There was some bad CGI in Shrek that I pointed out. There's not a single bad visual effect in this movie.
No, they do well.
Good night, James. For those of you that don't know, my son James goes to bed around this time. Yeah. This is staying in, right? Are we cutting this? No, this is staying in.
Yeah, I can stay in.
It can stay in.
Hi, James. Anyway.
Future James, if you're ever listening to this, you're going to bed around 8:30 at this time of your life. Yeah, like maybe he'll listen to this 8:45. Yeah. He went to bed late.
Son of a. Anyway.
So, while we're talking about the practical effects, how do you think the aerial shots were done? Because it was kind of bugging me. Like, drones weren't a thing then. They did the aerial shots for the clouds, and They come down and go through the cave off the water and go do a single cut into the cave. And I was trying to figure out how they did that cut.
I think there was a lot of different camera uses, and they were just mashed together.
You think that it was just
Because I think they probably had a ceiling mounted camera on a pulley,
Mm-hmm.
but for the water, it was probably in a helicopter or something.
They would have either had to done a helicopter or a boat for the stuff on the water. And I guess if you had the cut at the perfect time, because it looks like a single shot.
It does. Like it was a great cut, but again,
Yeah.
that's freaking Donner and Schumacher when they get together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the minds behind Superman. Don't forget. So,
Well,
well, not minds, but
Is Schumacher produce that one?
yeah. And then he directed the third and fourth, or just the fourth.
Oh, well, nobody watched the fourth one.
No, it was by far the least favorite, but
Probably.
But then he also did Batman Returns and Batman and Robin too. So,
Well,
or not?
I Batman Forever. You mean?
Thank you. I was like, not
I
Returns.
like Batman Forever.
It's a guilty pleasure. Lisa loves it because she loves Val Kilmer. So.
I don't even consider Batman Forever a guilty pleasure. I just like it. Batman and Robin, on the other hand.
We heard about the Schumacher cut now with that movie.
No,
It's supposed to be longer and darker.
What?
And
well, you know what? Forever's kind of dark. Like,
and it was going to be worse. I think the only thing that honestly, and this seems super weird to say, the only thing that ruined that movie for me was Tommy Lee Jones.
Forever.
Yeah,
he was. I heard him he was complain. Oh, Jim Carrey doesn't take this serious. Jim Carrey's over the top.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
Tommy he Jim Carrey Two-Face.
Yeah, he's trying to out Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
Oh. So this movie does a masterful job in the transition into a vampire. Like, I can't think of another movie where the emotions that you'd be going through during that transformative time. Michael's going through all of it, and they do a masterful job of it. I will give him that about this movie.
I think the movie that comes to mind most when I think of a transformative vampire movie is, in terms of movie genre transformative, how it goes from one movie into a vampire movie, is Dusk Till Dawn.
Well, I wasn't meaning...
No, I realized that after you said it. I thought that's what you were saying, so I had that all balled up inside, and then I realized what you meant afterwards.
I do hear what you're saying about Dusk Till Dawn, though, because it's just it looks like it's going to be this wild Western...
yeah, well, it's two different directors, right? So...
Was it two different directors?
Tarantino directed everything up until Mexico, and then Robert Rodriguez did the other half. Or third, or eighth. It was not that long. So
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Because I thought...
I'm pretty sure it's credited as directed by Rodriguez, too.
It is credited as...
But Tarantino... Because, Tarantino's dialogue, right? And the whole first half of the movie was all dialogue.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, Tarantino... So... We're eventually going to do a Tarantino movie, right?
We have to. I don't know about Pulp Fiction. A, it's too commonplace, and B, there's better choices.
I'm okay.
I would do Kill Bill. I love Kill Bill.
I'd love to do Kill Bill. I've got a holy trinity of video store movies. Have I ever told you my holy trinity?
I don't know if you have.
So my holy trinity of video store movies is in my opinion, are movies that are purely only known because of video store and became really popular. And it involves 3 90s days actors that became big deals. Kevin Smith, Clerks.
Of course.
El Mariachi by Robert Rodriguez.
Okay.
And Reservoir Dogs by Quentin Tarantino.
It was a great movie.
That is my video store holy trinity, because I do not think the career of those 3 men would exist without the video store.
Well, yeah, and Reservoir Dogs was his first movie. I guess that was all their first movies.
It was all their first movie.
But Pulp Fiction had a huge marketing blitz on it, so everybody knew Pulp Fiction when it came out.
And does that make any sense? You look at that as a movie, I'm just this is what they put their this is the basket they put their eggs in. Is this movie? it seems so uncorporate.
The very first
Hollywood.
time I watched it was on like Super Channel or something, and I watched it half awake. So I'm sitting there on the couch nodding off, and things are happening, and then I'm nodding off, and things. And since that movie shuffles its storyline so much, the one scene, what's it called? John Travolta gets gunned down. Spoiler. And I nod off. Next scene, they're
He's alive
at
again.
the Quentin Tarantino's house and
Yeah.
everything. I was like,
Wait.
what?
I love that movie.
That's
That
very
movie's
cool.
awesome.
I've only not seen. I didn't watch Django. I wanted to. I just didn't get around to it. And then Jackie Brown didn't really pique my interest.
Jackie Brown's his least Quentin Tarantino movie of all his Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's he didn't quite sell out, but like you could tell it was directed like almost like a normal director,
oh, well, that's not fun.
but like with Tarantino dialogue.
Yeah,
Like it was very. It was his Mallrats, in my opinion. Like this is what the studios want, and I'm going to like adhere to it. And then I think he was just kind of like, yeah, I tried this once. I'm not gonna do it.
goddamn Miramax.
Goddamn. So back to this movie.
Yeah, I suppose because I could go on about Tarantino, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely have to do one. But Diane Wiest in Lost Boys here was a pleasure. Like she was just the perfect mom.
Yeah,
She wasn't Mary Ellen Trainor perfect, but she was perfect.
she was very sweet. This whole thing, and she didn't really have a scene where you didn't believe
Her
that
concern or whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when she runs out of the of her date. You're thinking at that time, like, oh man, she's ruined this thing, right? Like, I legitimately thought, like, oh, you need a social life too, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you we're going to finally talk about what's going on in the movie on the background.
It's the freaking bonfire scene. God, I love this scene.
This is something else. Like, this is kind of crazy.
And this is where you first see the makeup. And again, like for 1987, the makeup was almost flawless. Like it didn't look prosthetic, it looked like real.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember I don't think Stan Winston did this movie. I think it was someone else, but I know Stan Winston was the name for Hollywood makeup for the longest time. So might have been
Stan Winston was all about the monsters, though, right? Like,
yeah. Well, he did Terminator 2, so
yeah.
Well, Terminator as well, I should say.
Well, when you said Terminator 2, I thought you meant TOO, not T.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I knew what you meant. I was picking up what you're putting down. I was smelling what you're cooking. I guess savages, eh?
And I liked how the incisors were beside their front teeth. They weren't the typical canine spot.
Mm-hmm. You know what this makes me miss?
Lunch?
Being a teenager going around a bonfire.
That too.
Really, really, like, teenagers today don't know what they're missing going around these bonfires and getting eaten by vampires.
I mean,
they're really missing out. Today's youth is all about playing the Grand Theft Auto. Back in our day, we were getting inhaled by vampires around the bonfire, listening to like pre-evil rock.
I saw this meme where it showed a photo from the 80s where the person had the red eyes from the camera. And it's like, I'm going to tell my kids that they didn't know about the demon uprising of the 1980s.
Oh. Yeah, they didn't fix that till like the 2000s, eh?
No, like, because remember when Photoshop came out, it's like, oh, red eye reduction.
Yeah. Oh, you can't trust what you see on the camera anymore. The fact that you can't see the demon's red eye anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you know the world's going to hell.
Yeah.
Because now we can't tell
the
who
demons have
are.
taken over. Maybe we need Roddy Piper's sunglasses from They Live.
Oh, are we putting that on our list?
We probably should. That's that's a cult classic, and that is and it's John Carpenter.
Amy hated that movie.
Oh, it's so fun.
She's like, this is the stupidest thing.
It is the stupidest thing, but it's so fun.
Well, it's the stupidest thing, yet like the underlying message in that movie is not like
has not aged. it still could be made today
Yeah, like
and be good.
wow, like, wow, this is super relevant actually. I've always wanted a flying girlfriend, eh?
I
It's like
mean,
you're not allowed in. I'm gonna fly up to the window anyway.
yeah. I don't know. Next thing I know, she's flying off with someone else and
Well, this is true.
gets my poor self-esteem. And
Drinking the blood of some other
yeah,
demon vampire, right? Oh, you're living in a hotel on the
I have
side of a
I have
cliff,
so many
eh?
comments I want to make, but out of respect for certain listeners, I'm trying to reel it in. So
I appreciate your restraint, Corey.
it's not easy. Let me just say
They're
that.
probably not listening to this one anyway.
Well, damn it. It's like a habit, though. They say it takes 21 days to build a habit.
Yeah.
Maybe if I start now, by the time the regular ones come back, it's not going to happen. But I'm telling myself this, so
I believe in you. I believe in you.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
Is uh, so Frog Brothers, yay or nay?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Also,
They
great story if you, even though they were bad, watch the sequels.
uh, isn't there one where one of them becomes a vampire?
That. Well, again, there's a comic that came out after this movie that followed the movie, like
Mm-hmm.
to a T, and that's when you find out about it, and then they allude to it then in the second movie, which was The Tribe, was absolutely atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
But the third movie, The Thirst, I thought was really well done, and it still talked about that, and it was a really nice concept because he was still helping. I don't know which one was which, Edgar and Alan, but either way, he was still helping out his brother with hunting vampires. So kind of Blade esque, but not. Um, it was really well written. So
When before doing this movie, I looked into the sequels. Did you know about the Joel Schumacher sequel that didn't happen?
the girl one,
Yeah, the Lost Girls.
yeah,
And like he did such a good job in here. Like the Frog Brothers, they're corny, but they could have been movie breaking corny, right?
yeah.
And he reined them in just enough, right? Feldman's a little too gravelly. Like every scene, I was like, "Oh man, your throat must have been so raw."
Well, but that he always had that deep voice, though, right? So
But he's like, it's ultra deep in here. Like everything, like I feel like that's not his natural voice. Like I know he's got a bit of a deep voice, but
maybe
like,
he's trying to be gruff, but already has the deep voice, and
yeah,
which is frightening, yeah. Because I mean, holy Christian Bale. So
yeah. I am Edgar Frog.
where are they?
Martha.
Wrong Batman.
Wrong Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll blame the ADHD on
yeah.
that one.
Damn it, Affleck. Anyway,
I love when they finally do their first vampire hunt. Like the Frog Brothers, it's like, oh yeah, you gotta call us. Oh yeah, dude, we're the ones to call. Yeah,
and they scream like little girls.
Oh, poor Bill Esquire.
Yeah, he had to be the first one to go.
Yeah.
Marco
He goes, ah!
just
And
sprays everywhere,
why is there so much blood?
and it wasn't even red, really. Like it
Yeah.
was kind of red, but
Oh yeah, It was not.
but it was funny. And honestly, date me back to I was 8 years old when this movie came out. I watched it not that long after it came out, and I got to that scene and I had to shut it off because it scared the crap out of me.
Too much blood.
Yeah, I guess.
It actually is kind of a terrifying scene.
Yeah.
Like, I actually do really appreciate how they're just like they're bats hanging in a cave, right?
Which is funny because, sorry, going back, is I watched the campfire scene obviously at this point, so and yet this is the scene that took me off.
Yeah, the campfire scene's way more terrifying.
But I mean, at 8 years old, I was already watching horror movies.
Well,
so
so the kids see the campfire scene was like teenagers or they're almost adults getting slaughtered, right? These are kids that are in this kill. I don't know what they were expecting.
That was a good backswing on that impalement, though. Like,
Yeah.
really, he got it right through him. Have you ever
But-
gone through breast bone before? It's really hard.
Oh, can't say as I have.
Oh, well,
Can't say as I have.
next time.
Do you have good form? Like,
Well, you definitely have to follow through. You can't just aim for the target. So
huh? Like when you aim, do you have to go between the ribs, or do you try to bust the rib as you go
it's
through?
kind of just off to the side. Why are we still talking about this? I feel if anything ever happens in this town, they're going to indict me just on this podcast. It is
cereal and play and
It is October 2nd at 9:00 p.m. I am at someone's house.
Yeah, I can confirm this is not a dark alley that we're doing this behind the Boston Pizza. I can confirm, not the dark alley behind Boston Pizza. I feel so bad for the grandpa's car. Like they do the impaling. They're like totally covered in blood. And like he's not supposed to have this car in the first place.
Did I tell you the rules about filling up the car with gas when you take it without asking?
No.
Well, now you do.
The grandpa's a beaut.
Yeah.
Like you always like the car scene. I expected like, oh yeah, he's gonna tie into the kids.
Well, I think
you do.
that's right here. They totally expected that. Yeah. I can't remember his name. Bernard, something Bernard. Yeah.
He's got some of the best lines. Like, okay, let's hop in the car. Now we take her to town. She starts the car up. Yeah.
Turns
Okay,
it
that's
off.
good.
Yeah.
That's,
Thought we were going to town.
that's as close as I like to get.
Yeah.
Oh, and the classic line at the end with the vampires.
Yeah, the one we threw at the beginning of the podcast. That is
Yeah.
that is the best line in this movie. One thing about Santa Carla I never could stomach: all the damn vampires.
Makes you wonder how many vampires there are.
Well,
Like-
it's funny because how like when Corey Feldman is being belligerent and he's like, "We're almost certain that ghouls and werewolves have high positions in government," and they actually allude to that in the comic book too. So
Do they?
yeah,
Well, the one owns a video store, right?
yeah,
How much more distinguished can you get in a community than owning a video store?
yeah, right. I think there's so many reasons I became a lover of the video store. And I know I've got the owner of the lobby in Edmonton, the video shop, which is an incredible shop. If you're ever in Edmonton, go check it out. But he hated corporate video stores because, of course, they closed down the small ones. And I mean, I worked for the corporate one, but I didn't treat it. And this is what I had said to him once: I don't treat it as I was working for a corporate one. I just treat it as I was working at a video store and I was renting movies to people, and they were talking movies to me. I didn't care about the politics, even though I was a manager. I didn't care about the politics behind it or the business of them making all this money. I just wanted to rent people movies.
Being a corporate video store is what closed it on you, though.
Yeah, go figure, eh?
Yeah. You know, if Blockbuster would still be today, if not for if the crash had happened 1 year later, because they were working on Netflix, eh?
Yeah, they had a chance to buy Netflix.
You know, they were going to have their own version of Netflix, eh?
Well,
And they were working on
didn't they though? I thought it
They
happened
didn't
in
have-
the States.
They didn't have enough time for it to get a foothold before the crash
Okay.
happened. If they'd got another year to like have it happen, I think they'd still be around.
Yeah, because didn't they own Redbox at one point?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, the mail-in DVD service. That's what
Yeah.
Netflix was, by the way, boys and girls. It
Wow.
used to be a mail-in DVD service. You watched it and you mailed it back to them.
Like our parents told us about like going to school on horseback. We tell our children about mailing in DVDs when
Right.
we were kids.
Like, I just remember going to, like, when I was young growing up, I went to a mom and pop video store, and there was the VHS titles on the shelf, and then they would put those little clips on them, say, "Sorry, I'm rented."
Mhm.
And I visually remember every second of that place. So,
Video spot in Camrose here. It was right beside the Boston Pizza. I remember it vividly. I'd come into Camrose. I'd visit my dad on weekends. And my mom and dad were divorced, right? And we'd get a we'd go to the video update right beside Boston Pizza, and they only had like one or two copies per movie. It's not like it was in Blockbuster where it was
Yeah.
like, oh, if
I think
we
we have
don't
like
have
60 of one copy ones. So.
yeah, one copy. If that one copy's out, you're gone. Maybe if it was a big movie, there was two copies.
Yeah.
Like it was, oh my god, look, there's two copies of that. But yeah, they had a good run. I miss that video update or video. Did I call it video updates?
You
It
said
was
video spot, then you said video update.
video spot.
Okay.
Video update was here too.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
And then VHQ was by Humpty's there.
Yeah. We don't even have Laura here to talk about. Hey,
Yeah.
what's Dave doing? How come he hasn't come by yet? Dave, if you're listening, come to the podcast.
Come on, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Come on.
Yeah. He's supposed to be coming next week, right?
As far as I know. Mike for sure.
Okay.
So, well, again, we got to figure out a date though.
So this final fight scene, epic or corny?
The scene with David and Michael was epic. The
Yeah.
scene with the rest of them was corny, especially the arrow scene.
The arrow scene was, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I do really like the dunk into holy water. That was pretty awesome.
Thanks to the dog.
Like, the effects were like I've already said, like, I'm shocked how good the effects are, right?
Yeah.
And like, they're great. What's with the blowing up blood everywhere, though? I never did figure that out.
No, I never did. Even back then, I never did. That's the one thing. Like, when you're younger, you're more suspended of belief, and so you can take in things and be like, okay, sure. This scene I never understood. Although, I freaking love the one frog brother there who's like ready to like start crying.
Hardened vampire hunters, right? I'm curious I should watch some of the sequel stuff just to see how, like, did they get pretty serious?
No, actually, they got substantially worse.
They got substantially worse, eh?
The second one, like I said, was just absolutely terrible. Trying to feed off the first one, but
I was talking Frog Brothers specifically, though. Not the
again,
movies
same
themselves.
thing, not as much. But the third one, The Thirst, is what it was called.
Like, are the Frog Brothers actually like a serious vampire threat?
Well, in both of them, you don't see. In the second movie, you don't see whichever the dark-haired one was, the one who turns. You don't see him until the closing credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you find out he's a vampire. And then in the third one, he's there, but he's not. So it's mainly just Corey Feldman, and he's still like in the third one. I actually enjoyed it. Most people didn't, but I actually enjoyed it. So
Corey, final thoughts?
I would love to say this is the best 80s vampire movie ever. There's a lot of competition though, but I think on a personal opinion, as this website or as this podcast is,
as a fan, not a critic.
That's right. I would say yes. This is my favorite 80s vampire movie.
What would be your ranking?
Overall vampire movies or just 80s?
Oh, I guess as a movie.
Oh,
like
overall ranking
5.
as a movie?
Yeah, out of 5.
my regular ranking. Okay. Yeah, it's a solid.
What other ranking did you think?
I don't know.
We're at final thoughts.
I'm
How this works is that you give a ranking system at the end
weird.
of final. Right?
Anyways, yeah, no, it's a solid 4.5.
4.5? For me, I wasn't quite too sure where to put it. It was better done than I thought it was. Upon rewatch and rewatch,
further review,
there is a little bit, like I said at the very beginning, like it's a bit of a tale of two different movies. Like there's that Goonies, Gremlins kind of kid adventure, kind of smashed into that brooding teen thing. It's well done though. Like it's a well done smashing. I'm gonna have to give it a Temple of Doom and half of a Raiders out of 4 Indiana Jones.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
I thought you just gave however many Indiana Jones out of.
yeah,
Now there's titles involved? Jesus.
yeah. Yeah, it's a Temple of Doom and a half, which would be half of a Raiders.
So, like 2.5?
Yeah, yeah. Only it's a Temple of Doom
Well, and I
and a
mean,
half of a Raiders.
I'm not expecting you to be on board with a lot of these because it's not your genre, and that's fair. So,
Well, it's not even that I wasn't on board. It's actually quite good. I was thinking about giving it a Raiders.
that's strong, but yeah.
Well, with my system,
Yeah.
that's just Raiders felt too strong, right?
Yeah.
So it's a Temple of Doom, and I love Temple of Doom. So like that's a good rating. That's a good rating.
It's a 4 times Crystal Skull rating.
Yeah, if we get a Crystal Skull rating, I might. I've been thinking about squeezing Dial of Destiny before I get to a Crystal Skull.
Speaking of, my dear listeners, how have you not listened to the Terminator ones yet? I put my heart and soul into that one.
But behind the scenes here, we had a couple different movies. We were gonna do American Pie, was it not?
Yeah.
And then we seen what wasn't doing very good. The non-80 movies weren't doing that good. So we're just like, well, screw it. We're gonna go back to the 80s. We're gonna do Terminator, right? To like get things back up to snuff. There's the 3 worst movies producing on our podcast so far is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which we kind of expected, and the 2 Terminator movies that we did to get more views again.
I know, and what's funny is our Should It Die on the Terminator series has twice as many listens as the Terminator ones.
That reminds me, we gotta get them hyped for next week because next week
week may be the greatest podcast we'll ever do.
But let's we're like just a couple months into like our podcast career. Like,
so by default,
we're gonna go downhill from next week.
Yeah,
okay?
we're peaking.
I've got some good Christmas ideas. Okay,
All
like
right.
I've got but we're going to do our top 5 villains next week.
Yeah, movie villains only.
Yeah, to my chagrin.
Yeah,
there's like
there's not enough numbers in the world if you wanted to count all mediums.
Like, are we going to do just straight up comic book villains one day?
We could.
Okay.
Wouldn't really fit with the theme, but we could.
Well, let's expand our horizons one day here, Corey, okay? But, yeah. Till next time, keep your stick on the ice.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week. Pretty excited. You know where to follow us.
Is that it?